Jiu-Jitsu as a whole is one big grip fight where the battle revolves around taking and preventing inside position. Inside position is your torso as well as everything above your knees, above your elbows, and below your chin. Everything below your knees, below your elbows, as well as your knees and elbows, and above your chin is used to protect your inside position, meaning your grips and your frames. The most important area of inside position is that of the torso and the neck. When we break down inside position of the torso and the neck, it is your ear to shoulder, your armpit to your hip, as well as one side of your hip to the other hip. Offensively, we're always looking to position ourselves to control our opponent's inside position, while simultaneously preventing them from gaining access to our inside position. Every submission and dominant control in Jiu-Jitsu requires inside position. If you're able to effectively control the space on your opponent, then you control them. Car analogy. The best way to visualize the concept of inside position as a means of control is the seat and car seatbelt of a car. Why is a car seatbelt so effective? Because the shoulder strap controls the inside space between your ear and your shoulder and the space between your armpit and your hip. And the waist strap controls hip to hip. The way a car seatbelt controls a passenger to keep them safe in a car is the same way you control your opponent from dominant positions in Jiu-Jitsu, such as back control, side control, and mount. The same is true of defending. If your opponent is able to get their limbs or body on the inside of these areas on you, then you're in trouble. To better visualize this concept, let's use the back as an example. When you have your opponent's back, your arms act as the shoulder strap of a car seatbelt, hence the name seatbelt grip, and your hooks act as the waist strap. If we take this control one step further to a body triangle, it's even closer to a true car seatbelt as your leg is positioned entirely over your opponent's hips. A body triangle provides better control for a reason. It's more similar to an actual seatbelt. The more you're able to occupy inside position on your opponent, the more control you'll have over them. For example, if you compare a standard car seatbelt to that of a baby car seat, the harness occupies more inside position through more gripping points. Therefore, it's the superior control. And the car seat itself is the same as your chest to torso connection, which we're going to go over later in this chapter. The same concept can be applied to side control, as the arm positioning is the same. You're just in front of them instead of behind them. Imagine that the car seat is now on their chest and the seatbelt is running across their back. The crossface controls the space between the ear and shoulder, and the underhook controls the space between the armpit and the hip. Your hip or your knee also control one hip, which is decent control, but mount controls both hips, which is why it's a superior position. This is because, again, the more inside position you have in your opponent, the more that you control them. Here's another example that demonstrates that the more inside position you have, the better. This is Kesagatami. I'm in a relatively safe position because I have grips underneath the head and underneath the armpit. But here my opponent only has my head, he's not underneath my armpit, making his Kesagatami much weaker, and I'm able to escape using my underhook.
Another aspect of inside position is inside space, which can be used interchangeably with inside position. So what that means is I need to be on the inside of Mike's grips and frames. So from here, if I'm on the inside, I can shoot towards his inside position and take him down, and he can't shoot on mine if he has outside position. So if he's here, I can still frame against him if he goes to shoot, because I have inside position and he can't get there. But again, I'm here, I have inside position, now I can shoot on him and start taking him down. So the inside space is really important to understand as well. So let's look at it from the grounded position. So for example, in half guard, I don't want Mike's grips on the inside. I want my grips on the inside. So here I can block him from grabbing my head because I'm on the inside. If I'm on the outside, if I'm here, it gives him access to my head. Or for example, if I'm passing, if Mike gets his knee on the inside and my arm is on the outside, I lack the inside position space. So from here, I'd want to work to get my arm on the inside so I can take more inside position. Same thing if I grab his arm from the outside, it gives him access to my inside position. So it's very important to control the inside space.
Whether you're attacking or defending, it's important to occupy the space in front of your torso. In general, you must ensure your limbs are on the inside of your opponent's limbs, as this creates a barrier between your torso and your opponent's grips. This is a form of inside position, and it'll provide access to your opponent's inside position. their torso, and beginning of all of their extremities. Here's an example of me not having any inside position with my arms or my legs. I circle my feet into the inside so I can take inside position. Now my opponent is gripping on the outside. How inside position applies to submissions. The importance of inside position doesn't end at control, it also applies to submissions. All chokes require you to gain access to the space between your opponent's ear and shoulder, and many, like the Darce and Triangle, require you to also control the space between their armpit and the hip. When controlling your opponent's limbs for a joint submission like an armbar, the closer you are to the torso, the better. For example, if we look at a loose armbar, your hips are far away from the torso and closer to the elbow. In order to tighten the armbar, you must bring your hips closer to the torso. This will also extend the lever and provide more braking force to your submission. This concept of inside position and control can be applied to literally every submission. For example, if we look at leg entanglements, the way to escape is by clearing the knee line, which is forcing your opponent's hips further away from your torso.
I've been training for over 11 years and I've been teaching for 8 years. Within that time, I've noticed that the why behind Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is often not taught, only the how. The how is just techniques, but the why is the concepts behind the techniques, as well as the in-between. You can't always be doing just techniques in Jiu-Jitsu, there's the in-between. The in-between is what leads to the techniques. By learning Jiu-Jitsu theory, you'll learn the concepts behind the techniques and what to do to hit the techniques. It's important to understand body mechanics, the way our bodies work in relation to another person's body. What we're looking for is to take control of our opponent's torso and neck, the most important aspects of inside position. And we're looking to prevent our opponent from taking access to our inside position, and the way that we do that is using the extremities of our torso, our arms, legs, and head. The extremities of your body can only do 3 things to be productive. They can either grip, frame, or close space. So what gripping is gripping to take inside position, which is offensive. We frame to keep our opponent away from our inside position. We use the structural strength of our bones to keep them away. Closing space is exactly how it sounds, just staying tight. So for example, if we want to prevent underhooks, we keep our elbows tight. Or if we're in turtle, then we can also stay tight with our elbows and our knees to prevent access to our inside position. Because we can't frame with the areas above our elbows and above our knees, we need to use what's in front of them to defend. Which is why it's important to understand they have layers of defense. If you keep someone in front of your hand, then you're in layer 1 of your defense. And if your elbow is in front of someone, you're in the second layer of your defense. So if they get past your hand, but they're in front of your elbow, you're in the second layer. If they get past your elbow, then they're taken inside position. Because again, you can't frame with anything past your elbow.
If you're loving Jiu-Jitsu theory and want a conceptual approach to Jiu-Jitsu, then you'll love my brand new Jiu-Jitsu theory course. For a limited time only, I'm offering 33% off as a special launch price. Trust me, there's nothing out there like this. See you on the mats.